Hello YouTube and welcome to Master Duel's first ever event, the XYZ Festival. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the 5 best decks for this festival. I hope you enjoy, and if you like this kind of content, really appreciate a subscription to the channel. You can catch me live on Twitch, links in the description if you want to see some live gameplay from the festival. But without further ado, let's jump right into this video. The first deck I'd like to feature in this video is Zoodiac. Now, Zoodiac is pretty much untouched by this list, and there's multiple reasons why I think this is one of the best decks for the festival. You can play a ton of hand traps since your engine is very lean, meaning that you can go first or second and have good results. They do have a very consistent monster lineup. You're going to play 1 copy of Bunny Blast as just an extra name. This card has a pretty good effect though. 3 Whiptail, 3 Thoroughblade, and 3 Ram. All the little guys. I threw a Kaiju in this deck list. Of course, this is variable, and I'm going to show some different tech cards as well in this video. Raigeki and Duster, pretty standard. Now, Pot of Desires is the only pot card that's able to be played in this format. It looks like they limited Pot of Extravagance and Pot of Prosperity, so you definitely want to play a deck that can utilize Pot of Desires because it gives you a huge advantage over your opponent, since this is one of the best decks to use Pot of Desires in. I also threw a Lightning Storm in here for going second, again totally variable, and I really like Kaiser Coliseum. Think about it, it's an XYZ event. Most decks are going to need 2 monsters on the field to play the game, and XYZ summoning with 1 monster is something only Zoodiacs can do. So this deck has Pot of Desires, other decks don't have pots. This deck has Kaiser Coliseum, other decks can't XYZ summon, and a lot of the other floodgates like Dimensional Barrier and Flying Sea are banned in this format, so this is one of the only ways that you can lock your opponent out of their extra deck. We also have 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki, which is like the best searcher, just gets any monster from your deck. So you're definitely going to play 3 of this. 2 Call by the Grave to stop your opponent's hand traps. 3 Forbidden Droplets gets rid of your opponent's interruption cards. I like this card, not mandatory at all. I'd play Zoodiac Combo. 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence and 1 copy of Judgment. I just play this because I have it and it's free. 3 Impermanence is fine. For some other main deck tech choices, you could play the Harpy's Feather Duster. Of course, I have that here. You could also play Mystical Space Typhoon as an option. You could play Effect Veiler in your hand trap slots if you have it. Nibiru is actually pretty good in this format, since people are special summoning a lot. I mean, you're trying to limit their special summons, but a Nibiru wouldn't hurt. I do like Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion a lot, since it stops your opponent's Call by the Graves. Very, very good hand trap, very versatile. Joel and Lockbird is another hand trap option. It's a super rare, which is really nice. You can pair it with like the DD Crow, or you can replace maybe like the Forbidden Droplets if you don't have them with this. Forbidden Chalice is a good budget rare option. Cosmic Cyclone, another really, really good budget option. You could, of course, for other options, play like Book of Moon. This is a good generic staple. Compulsory Evacuation Device, a good generic staple. Torrential Tribute as well. All these cards are very good and just as good as some of the other main deck options at a lower rarity. For the extra deck, we play the Utopic Future and the Utopic Future Draco. This combo is not mandatory. If you don't have it, I wouldn't recommend you craft it for this event. Like, for instance, I'm not going to play it, but a lot of Zoodiac players really like including this. It's a nice additional boss monster. And then for the rest of the extra deck, you basically just load it up with Zoodiacs. 2 Tiger Mortar, 1 Trident, 3 Borbo, 2 Hammer Kong, and 3 Chakanine are the ratios that I went with. You, of course, if you have some tech choices you want to play, you can cut down on Chakanine, cut down on Borbo without really missing them too much. You do want the Vespanado and the Zeus, however. Zeus is the XYZ boss monster, and they left him in for this game. So I want to see if Pot of Avarice is also unlimited. Yeah, so Pot of Avarice is another option. Since you're playing so many Zoodiac names, and you're usually stacking up a big Zeus or a Trident, you can also use this as a draw 2 card. So technically, Zoodiac has the 2 of the best draw cards in the game. It has the best floodgate in the game. This is definitely a tier 1 deck for this format. The next deck I have to bring you is the Shark deck. A really fun deck, and you may have seen this deck on ladder due to Crooked Cook, but it's definitely not a one-trick pony, although this card is very good. For my list, I choose to play 3 Beautiful Princess, 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom. Now, Beautiful Princess basically is just going to be more copies of Lantern Shark, which is your best starter. This card's a 1-card XYZ, which is pretty rare in this game. For extenders, we play 3 Silent Angler, which special summons from hand, 3 Shathana, which special summons from hand, 1 of the right-hand Shark. This is to special summon off of the Buzzsaw Shark, and whenever you summon a monster with it, any XYZ cannot be destroyed by battle. So you could use this to cheese with Crooked Cook, or you can use it to make a really strong boss monster like Stealth Kragen. Then what we're going to do is play 3 copies of Buzzsaw Shark. Just targets himself or another fish you control, and then you can special summon another from the deck. So yeah, it locks you into XYZ monsters, which is hilarious in this event, but very, very powerful starter. You're going to want to max on ways to get to this card. And then 3 Silent Sea Nettle, which special summons from hand. We do have 1 Duster, and this is one of the decks that can use Pot of Desires, so you definitely want to give it a go. 3 White Mirror, which is a very crazy card. Target a fish and grave, special summon it, and then add a monster from the same name with your deck. So if you can like do Buzzsaw Shark, special summon Angler, overlay into Bahamut Shark, detach the Angler, make totally awesome, and then you can White Mirror, special summon the Angler back, and then add 1 to hand. You can special summon that one from hand, go into something like Stealth Kragen. So it's a very, very powerful combo. We do play 3 of the Piri Rice map, totally optional. All this card does is it adds a Beautiful Princess from your deck to your hand. So it doesn't really have too much utility, but it is quite good. There are some other options I'll show. Forbidden Droplets, very good generic staple. Infinite Impermanence, of course, and Goes and Match. What you do with Goes and Match is you'll set this, and then you activate Stealth Kragen. You summon this guy. It turns all your opponent's monsters into water. So as soon as they summon a monster, you flip up a Goes and Match, and they get locked into waters. So it's this really cool lock that you can create, which will almost assuredly make your opponent pass. So it's a really good tool in your arsenal. In the extra deck, I would recommend playing Utopic Draco and Utopic Draco Future. These cards are really easy to go into. You can play Totally Awesome, which you summon off the Bahamut Shark. The second Bahamut Shark is not required. You play Abyss Dweller, and even though this is the water boss monster, it really doesn't come up that much. But Silent Honor Arc is a very good card. I really like summoning this in this deck. Hope Woven Dragon Spider Shark. This card is a pretty good utility. It's just not super relevant. Crooked Cook is one of the alternate win conditions of this deck. You can stall your opponent out with this. It basically becomes invincible if you summon it using the Buzzsaw Shark, summon Right Hand Shark, summon Crooked Cook, and pass. You can use this to stall and bide time until you have options. You can use this and then attack with it directly. Your opponent can't really interact with it, and then you just make Zeus on top, so it has utility. You're going to want to play it. And then 2 copies of Stealth Kragen, which is one of your best boss monsters, and 2 Stealth Kragen spawn to go with it. You can play the 3rd copy of this in lieu of another card in the extra deck if you are missing something. Vespanado is just a way to deal piercing damage, beat your opponent's Crooked Cook, and Zeus is Zeus. It's one of the best boss monsters in the XYZ archetype. For other tech you could play, the hand traps are all interlopable. You could play like Effect Veiler, Nibiru, Ghost Bell, Drone Lockbird. You could play Skullmeister. They all kind of do similar things. You just want to have enough hand traps to interact. Forbidden Chalice, along with cards like Cosmic Cyclone, Torrential Tribute, Compulsory Evacuation Device, Book of Moon, all good generic staples you can use to replace the higher rarity options. I chose to include Astral Karibo here. Astral Karibo you can use to target one of your monsters. It becomes level 4, and then you can use it to summon any of your numbers, so Crooked Cook, Silent Honor Arc, Stealth Kragen. It has a similar effect to the Left Hand Shark, where it just makes it indestructible by battle and card effects. So you can use this as additional copies of Crooked Cook fodder in case your right hand shark gets interrupted if you want to go that route. I felt like it was a bit linear. It is pretty good though. You can summon it and make like a really good like Hope Woven or a really strong Stealth Kragen. So definitely a considerable tech. But overall a really good deck, very fun to play, and good even outside of the XYZ Festival. Another extremely powerful deck you have access to in this mode is Dinosaurs. Now, Dinosaurs have 2 things going for them. One, they have a very powerful main deck boss monster, Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, which you're able to summon in this festival. Even though it's not an XYZ monster, it can really shut down a lot of decks. And 2, one of the best XYZ monsters in the game, True King of Calamities, is very summonable in this version of Dinosaurs. So we're going to play 2 of the Archosaur. You can play 3 of this card, the Animadorned Archosaur. 3 Baby Cerosaurus is pretty crucial in this build. 3 Max C, very nice being an Earth, and you'll see why. Pterodon, you could play more copies of this, theoretically. 3 Ash Blossom being a Fire, very important, and you'll see why. 1 Giant Rex, one of the best XYZ cards around. Whenever you banish it, it special summons. So you can special summon it with one of your 3 Miscellaneous Saurus, very useful. Soul Eating Oviraptor, of course, and Dino Wrestler Pankratops is a good going second option, but you can also summon this off of your Dinosaur effects, so it's pretty good setting up going first too. And then we're playing 3 Ogminazod, 3 of Lithogasm, the True Kings. To facilitate this, you have Draconic Diagram in your deck, but these things special summon by destroying monsters from your hand or field. So destroying your baby Ceratosaurus can be very useful. They have good preliminary effects. You know, this one banishes cards from your opponent's extra deck. This card banishes cards from the field, but they're also level 9. So yeah, you can summon King of Calamities pretty easy when you use these effects. It's a really good way to play this deck in this format since you don't have synchro monsters, and I honestly think this is a top deck contender. 2 of the Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, we play 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, Terraforming to go into either your Diagram or your Lost World, 2 copies of Evolution Pill, which is searchable off of the Archosaur, 3 Fossil Dig, which just picks up your deck and puts any dinosaur in it basically, and then of course you have the Draconic Diagram, 3 Lost World, a very good field spell, and 2 Called by the Grave to make sure your combos go through. For the extra deck, I do include the Utopic Draco Future Package, not required by any means. You almost never go into this. 1 copy of the Logia, 2 copies of Dolka. 2nd copy of Dolka, not required, but it is nice. Abyss Dweller, you go into this a decent amount. You can play this little Zoodiac engine. You can play Chakanine, which is generic, and go into Borbo to get a direct attack, which allows you to go into Zeus. You could also play Trident, because you could just easily get into it with any 2 level 4s. Tornado Dragon, Jugaris is good. The rest of these are kind of generic tech, like level 4 techs. If you don't have them, you can just replace them. But Jugaris is nice because you can use it to double your Ultimate Conductor Tyranno's attack, which lets you go up to 7,000 and attack everybody at once. So you can find lethal setups for this card very easily. Gaga Gaga Magician will let you go into the Utopic combo easily, and Vespinato. I encourage you to play this in all of your XYZ Festival decks, since Crooked Cook is a thing. And then we have some rank 9s, Enter Blathnir and the King himself, and of course Zeus, you know, XYZ deck. But yeah, top deck contender for sure, due to the strengths being the True King of Calamities, the True Kings being really good on their own in the main deck, and having a awesome main deck boss monster. The next deck I have to feature is a going second OTK strategy that's pretty funny. So for this deck, we're playing 3 Smoke Mosquito. This card is a hand trap. It's like a battle fader, kind of. You take some damage, but it special summons itself and ends the battle phase. And then you can target a face-up monster you control, and its level becomes the same as that monster's. So that's kind of the real reason you're playing this card. You could also play like Astral Karibo, which just kind of does the same thing, except it special summons itself. You can just special summon this, and if you control a level 8, you can use that plus 1 of your level 8s to go into your win condition, Druglubian. So Astral Karibo or Smoke Mosquito could fill this spot. We're also playing 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom as our hand traps. Effect Veiler is also good. I'm playing 2 Danger Jackalope to go along with their other dangers. A lot of dangers in this deck. And our main normal summon is going to be Denko Sekka. Denko Sekka, if your opponent goes first, you know, they set a bunch of spells, traps, and then you just like, boom, Denko Sekka. And they can't flip up any of their spells or traps. So it's really good because it doesn't start a chain, it just normal summons. And it allows you to set up your OTK combo. So you could like Denko, get a danger on the board, summon Astral Karibo, win the game. For going second cards, we're playing Pankratops and then 3 Nessie, which will get you into your level 8 dangers. If you summon the Nessie, it doesn't really do that much on the field. You could play an XYZ 7 as well as your 8s, which is very considerable, but this is the only 7 that I play. You could play level 7 Kaijus as well. So yeah, we got the level 8 Kaijus, of course, for a little more removal, and level 8 special summons, 2 Danger Bigfoot, 2 Danger Thunderbird, and then 1 Ogopogo. These are the level 8 dangers, but if you activate them in your hand and hit them, their effects are okay, destroying your opponent's cards, but they don't special summon. They're really good to discard off a trade-in, however. I played 2 copies of Alpha, the Master of Beasts, which is a great level 8 special summon that can bounce your opponent's cards, Raigeki Duster, Monster Reborn, and 2 trade-in. Not required to play trade-in, but it is good if you have them. 3 Lure of Darkness and 3 Pot of Desires for good draw power. The deck is pretty consistent. If you play the Astral Karibo or the Smoke Mosquito, you can almost always get into a rank 8 play. And so what your normal combo is going to be is you like remove some of your opponent's cards and then you summon Druglubian. Druglubian summons Numeron Dragon from your extra deck, equipping it with one of your other number monsters, and then this thing goes up to 9,000 attack. So you just attack for game. So it's just simplify the game state, deal 9,000 damage. a pretty good deck. I just filled the rest of the extra deck with a bunch of rank 8 cards. Don't feel obligated to get these. Lancelot's a nice one because it can attack directly and of course help you get into Zeus. Lancelot, you can go Lancelot, overlay Pain Gainer, overlay 7 Sins, and then, yeah, this gives you additional materials for your Zeus as well. So a pretty cool thing to know. Dingirsu is also very good since it's generic removal that's non-targeted and non-destruction. It'll help you remove some of the more problematic XYZ cards in the game. Draglubian, of course. You could use Heart Earth Dragon off the Draglubian if you're forced to go first. This will make it so your opponent loses all their cards that they played this turn during the end phase. Kind of gives you a backup plan. But yeah, I just played a bunch of Galaxy cards and then Heart Earth, the 7 Sins combo, and the extra deck is extremely variable. But yeah, this deck is really cool. You can mess around with the danger ratios if you like. It's one of the better going second decks in the game, and it's very good in the XYZ Festival. Alright, the last deck I have for you is actually relatively budget, at least it could be, and this is the Numeron OTK deck. A very funny strategy that also goes second, and you're basically going to try everything in your power to get into your field spell Numeron network. Establish a pretty clear board where your opponent only has 1 monster or so, clear out their back row, and then you can summon 4 of these XYZ monsters from your extra deck and deal lethal damage. So basically you're going to play Numeron Wall, which searches for Numeron Network, Maxi and Ash of course. You're going to play Planet Pathfinder, which searches for Numeron Network. As you can tell, this is the namesake of the deck. You just either get to the field spell or you do nothing. But it's pretty easy to do so. For the rest of the monsters, we just play removal cards like Pankratops, which is nice because it removes itself from the field, and you can't control any monsters when you use Numeron Calling off of Network's effect. So Pankratops clears out back row, Lava Golem to eat your opponent's monsters, Kaijus to do the same thing. Very funny. You could play Sphere mode if you really want. Sphere mode isn't really as good though because you can't attack it. So you don't want to play this one. You definitely want the Lava Golem or the Gamasiel Gadarla. And then for the removal cards, you don't want to play Raigeki because to OTK, you need your opponent to have 1 monster. So you just play Duster 3 Storm, mostly to clear back row. And then, of course, Terraforming to get to the field spell. You need to play 2 Numeron Calling, because the field spell sends this from your deck to graveyard to activate its effect. If you draw it, it's not so bad. You just play the field spell, activate Calling from your hand. I chose 2 copies of Limiter Removal. You can play more or less, but it's pretty cheesy and funny when you boost all your monsters' attack even more, going up to like 16,000. Twin Twister is really nice. You could play Mystical Space Typhoon, Cosmic, any of the like. Call by the Grave, totally optional. Forbidden Droplets, totally optional. I just really like it because you can still deal damage after using this, and it halves your opponent's monster's attack, which is kind of useful sometimes, but mostly turns off their effects. And the last card being Red Reboot. Again, just locking your opponent out. 1 turn is all you need with this deck, and you deal lethal damage. The extra deck is very simple. Since you can't use any Link monsters, you just play 3 of each of the gates. So you play 1, 2, 3, 4 in triples, and then 3 of the C1 Numeron Chaos Gate Sunya. This is kind of what you're going to go into. You, if you can't deal lethal, you just summon all your dudes, and then summon this on top of 1. It'll banish all monsters on the field, and then during the next standby phase, this card comes back, and it inflicts damage equal to the combined attack of all banished XYZ monsters. So in this event, this can be a lot of damage if you banish one of your opponent's XYZ monsters, but if you banish just yours, then you deal like 4,000 damage. So it's like a lot of damage. You can deal 3,000 to 4,000 damage very easily. But yeah, extremely simple deck with a nice clean win condition. One of the top contenders for this format and very fun to play. So I hope you guys enjoy. That's going to do it for this video on the XYZ event. Overall, I thought this was a really cool event. They're giving us a ton of free gems with this event, and they gave us a lot of gems for the release of it as well. So I'm very optimistic about the future of Master Duel. I think this was a step in the right direction for the game, and I'm really excited to see what comes with future events. But definitely, if you do want to get info about those future events, you'll see it first here. Thank you so much, guys, for all the support, and I hope to see you soon. Take care now. Thanks for watching the video.